Bard on the Plains podcast with Mike McPeak. It's about stories, mine and yours.
Hello everyone. As we are about to enter the 5th month of the Chinese flu, my wife and I are starting to get more than a little tired of the drama, the hysteria, and hyperbole surrounding it. So we decided to go on a road trip. Luckily, we live in South Dakota and have a great governor who treats us like adults and hasn't placed any restrictions on us, so we're free to travel as we wish. So we started by taking a trip down memory lane. So on a Saturday morning, my wife and I and our dog, Molly, we bundle into our car and we start traveling. First place we go is the little town of Vienna, South Dakota. Now, if you look it up on a map and you see the name, you're going to want to pronounce it Vienna. It's not. It's Vienna. As is the custom with any place name like that, you pronounce it the way the locals do, and the locals have decided to pronounce it Vienna. Same way with the state capital of South Dakota. It's Pierre, not Pierre. And that's your little history lesson for right now. But we decided to drive over there and drive through the town. As a kid, I knew some people that lived there, and my brother rented a farm south of the town a little bit. There's not much of the town left. There's probably maybe only 50 people in it now. A lot of the houses have been torn down or moved out, but there's still some people that live there. And we were driving around there trying to find some of the places I remember. There was a place of a lady we visited there quite often. She was a friend of the family. We've known her for years. Her daughter stayed with us when she taught at the little country school around the corner from where our farmhouse was, and so they stayed with us because it was the closest place to the school. So I tried to find that house, or where that house was. It's gone now, and it's been many years since I've been there, so I don't quite remember. And then we kind of drove through and around the town, and I'm convinced that the town of Vienna needs to hold the distinction of being the smallest town that you can get lost in. It's not very big, but they have streets that twist and turn and go through trees, and you can get out there in it and get disoriented. For a town that's probably not even a mile square, you can wander around and you aren't quite sure where you're at. But we wandered around there and we found some things, remembered a few things about the town when we were there, about the city hall, and they used to have a bank building that sat, Main Street didn't run straight to the main road, of course not, and so it was where the Main Street meets the main road through town. It was kind of triangle shaped, and so they had a triangle shaped bank building there. It had 3 sides to it, which was kind of unique. Well, that's been torn down now because it was an old building, and a lot of them are just they're falling apart, so they just tore it down. But so we remembered where that was at and kind of reminisced a little bit. And the city hall, or the town hall, I guess you would call it, the meeting place, is still standing there. And we talked about my niece graduating from high school, and we went to the reception there, and just generally tried to jog our memory about different things. But the town isn't very big, so we weren't there too long. We was there maybe about half an hour driving around. You can see the whole town in about half an hour. So we get done with that, and then we decided to move on. We had decided that our next stop would be the town of DeSmet. That's the town made famous in Laura Ingalls Wilder books, Little House on the Prairie, among others. So we decided to go down there, and we'd stop at the Dairy Queen and get some food, and we would go sit in the park with our dog and eat and, kind of wander around there a little bit. And then when we, after we got done eating, we decided to drive around DeSmet a little bit because, again, I have a few memories there. My uncle used to live in DeSmet there, and he's been gone for about, I think 15 years now or thereabouts. And he kind of held the distinction, the unofficial distinction, of being the bike king of South Dakota. He had lots of bikes around his trailer house there. So he had like a 70-foot trailer house, and he had bikes lined up along the side of the trailer house, not end to end, but side by side. So he had about 70 feet of bikes that way, plus he had a whole bunch hanging in his garage to be fixed or repaired or just to be gotten rid of. And then out back, he had what he called his bone pile of bikes that he was using for parts and to, maybe to fix up in the future or do something like that. Well, the trailer house is gone now, but I think I finally found where it was at. But we drove around there, around the town a little bit, and like I say, kind of checked it out and looked things over a little bit. Well, then from there, we decided to go down to Howard. Now, I didn't have so many memories of Howard because I think I've only been there once or twice. Probably the only memory I have of the town is that there was a place down there called ABC Salvage, which sold would salvage farm equipment and sell the parts. And I remember my brother and his brother-in-law and I went down there one afternoon to get a tire for an '88 Oliver tractor that we had. It was kind of an odd size, and we didn't want to buy a new tire for it because Dad was all about saving money. So we found a tire down there, and the three of us went down there in our '70 Chevy pickup to pick it up and bring it back, and we're driving back, and those two decided it would be a good idea to stop and maybe get some beer to drink on the way back, because back then people weren't as uptight about drinking and driving. So they stopped to get a 12-pack, and I was only about 16 years old, maybe 15 years old at the time. And so they thought it'd be funny to give me a beer. So, yeah, I drank it. I'm trying to be one of the guys or whatever. But anyway, I drink the beer. I get, this is probably the first one I've ever had. So I got a little drunk and I came home. I don't know if Mom and Dad noticed it so much, but I'm sure that my brother knew that I was a little drunk and a little loopy. But that's my memory of the town of Howard. But my wife's uncle had lived down there, and I believe worked for the either the FHA or the Soil Conservation Office. I don't quite remember for sure, but and she had a few memories of the town. But so we were just kind of just driving around, exploring, and we've been trying to stop at the city parks in all these different towns and kind of let Molly go around and sniff and make new discoveries there, and give her a chance to get out, stretch her legs, and do her doggy business wherever. So we kind of stopped there and checked out the park, and we drove around and went out to the dollar store on the east side of town to get some. My wife was looking for some stuff, I guess some face masks or something, because apparently we need to wear those silly things. But she found some of those, and like I say, we just kind of toured the town and found different things. Then after we got done with Howard, we decided to go back to my hometown of Willow Lake. And we drove not so much through the town, but what we were trying to do was get out to the cemetery at the west side of town. And I call it the back way out of Willow Lake. You kind of have to know how to get there to get to it. But you go down this, you follow the streets and you get back to this road, and it'll take you back out to the to a road there that takes you to the cemetery. There's another way to get there, but I just thought it'd be more fun to go through the town and kind of look things over. And it hasn't changed a lot since the last time I've been there, because I get down to Willow Lake maybe once a year, because there's no real reason for me to go down there and see it. But we drove through and we went out to the cemetery, and again we let Molly wander around and kind of do her business. And don't worry, if she does a number 2 out there, we'll stop and pick it up, because we're responsible pet parents here. But we're just wandering around the cemetery, and we found the graves of my grandma and grandpa Bruns and other people that I've known, either some parents of people I graduated with, saw my cousin's grave out there, and just kind of reminisced about people that I had known throughout the years, or maybe I didn't know them, but I've heard of them. So, there's just some local history there. And given the fact that I am quite literally related to about half of Clark County, that may be a bit of an exaggeration, but maybe not too much. I just wandered around and looked at those people, and and just tried to remember different things. And then after we got done there, we drove to the little country cemetery where the church that I grew up in used to be. That's near our farm. And we went out there and we looked at my mom and dad's grave, and I have two stepbrothers out there and a nephew. And we just, looked at the graves and looked at the country. We took a back road going down there. It's a township road, and for those who don't understand what that means, it means it's a gravel road that's barely maintained, because not too many people will drive down it. Because this road from the county road that goes past our place all the way down to Highway 25, that's about 5 miles. And there is literally one person that lives along that road in 5 miles. And that's going to the south. And if you go to the west, I think you have to go another about 3 miles to the west before you find any other people out there. So it's just kind of a big, open, uninhabited part of the country down there. I call it coyote country because when we were living on the farm, we would stand out on the deck at night, and you could hear the coyotes howling out there in the distance. Well, when you raise sheep, sheep is kind of like a buffet for the coyotes if they can get up there and get to them, because they'll just go in there and just raise havoc with them. And the problem is the coyotes and or wild dogs really don't kill too many of the sheep. The way you lose most of your sheep is they panic. They will get into a pile and lay on top of each other and suffocate those on the bottom. So they actually end up killing themselves more than what the coyotes or the dogs would. But so, it's just a big empty area out there. But, it's what I call home, and it just kind of, I just like reminiscing. And as you get older, you kind of remember things differently than what they were, because some of the things that you thought was pretty horrible at the time, you kind of start to fondly remember them now. I think that has to do with age and kind of wanting to remember it the way you would like it to be and not the way it was. But so we just we got done with that, and we drove back to town and parked our car and came in the house. And it just was a nice exercise to get out and get away from everything for a while and not worry about the world and the crises that we're going through, and just be able to relax and take our dog out to see different things and just, be a couple for a little while.
If you have a story you'd like to tell, contact Mike on Twitter at BardOnThePlains or by email at bardontheplains@gmail.com. For more information about the stories in this podcast, visit bardontheplains.com.